SpaceX.
Elon was the only funder of the company for its early years. Another incredibly risky move to say, nobody on the planet thinks this idea is financeable. I'm going to fund all of it myself, to the tune of almost $100 million, which was the majority of his net worth at the time, into a dream to take on the military-industrial complex. Here's an immigrant from South Africa coming to America to say, you know, NASA, that whole rocket thing you're doing with the space shuttle, I got it.
I actually traveled to Russia 3 times to look at buying a refurbished ICBM without the nuke. And I came to the conclusion that the thing that was really holding us back from making much more progress in space was really that rockets had not evolved since the 60s.
So the trick isn't figuring out how to get to orbit, it's figuring out how to get to orbit cheaply.
So I had to come up with lower-cost ways to produce engines, the primary structure, the electronics to the launch operation, as well as run the company with very little overhead. And the sum of inventions in all those areas is what has led us to roughly 3- to 4-fold improvement over the cost of other rockets in the United States.
What SpaceX has been very successful at is taking basically off-the-shelf technology, stuff that was developed by NASA 50 years ago, and streamlining it. So in that way, he's kind of the Henry Ford of space, because Henry Ford didn't invent the automobile, he just figured out how to make the automobile commercially viable.
Musk was more than just an entrepreneur.
If you ask Elon how he managed to teach himself rocket science, he'll just look at you very seriously and just say very quietly,
New construction options. Building. Unit ready.
Ready to roll.
Building.
32-year-old Elon Musk had his next big idea at his family's annual visit to Burning Man, the counterculture desert happy. Although still fascinated by rockets and fast cars, he wanted to find a way to end Earth's addiction to fossil fuel.
I was the one that suggested the idea of going into the solar power arena to Lyndon and Peter Wright, my cousins.
He basically hands this idea to his cousins and says, if you want to start this, I will fund you, and it'll be your company, but I'll be the chairman. And they say, okay. And it works almost perfectly.
What they've figured out is that if you sort of do 100 things 10% better in the area of solar cell installation for homeowners, you can dramatically consolidate an industry that's currently a bunch of mom-and-pop shops. So what Solar City did was they said, how about no money down? You want solar cells? We'll just put them in. You don't pay a cent. Right? It's like leasing a car, but even better.
Solar City started in 5 western states and soon grew into the largest solar service provider in the U.S.
The solar cells keep going. Solar City then owns those at the end of the lease. So it's a fascinating business model where in the long term they may become the largest energy generator in America off all of these rooftops.
But renewable energy was just one part of a much bigger goal. Musk had a more ambitious plan for a sustainable future.
He had this idea that he wanted to make electric cars, help humanity get off fossil fuels.
And so Solar City is about sustainable energy creation, whereas Tesla is about sustainable energy consumption.
In April 2004, Musk helped launch Tesla with $6.3 million of his own money. It was the first auto industry startup in decades, and the only one born in Silicon Valley.
It's really pretty simple. It's, make a high-priced car at low volume, because that's essentially the only thing we could afford to do. And then step 2 is a medium-priced car at medium volumes. And step 3 is a low-priced car at high volumes.
Tesla's plan was to introduce a high-end, high-performance product to first attract outliers, then make an affordable car for the masses. Tesla's co-founder and first CEO, Martin Eberhard.
We expect to change the way people think about electric cars with this car, and that we hope to open a market for us to sell other electric cars. But we also know that if you start off by saying, let's first change human nature and make everybody drive crummy little cars, that doesn't work. So instead, let's build a car that people want to drive. Let's build a car that's hot and desirable and beautiful, and convince people that driving an electric car is not a compromise.
This idea of actually going in and putting it in a high-end car and breaking the mold of what an electric car was exciting. This is no longer going to be a golf cart. This is going to be Ferrari.
Nope. Coast is clear.
When we first saw Tesla, it had a good explanation for how they would get to market without having to spend a majority of the money, how they would create a brand and an object of desire in consumers, and each part of the story clicked together.
He talked about Silicon Valley smarts being able to show Detroit
how to do something that they didn't think was possible.
It's batteries, it's drive electronics, it's electric motors.
Building.
Those are skills that are present in Silicon Valley and not present in Detroit.
Tesla's revolutionary technology for the Roadster started with a computer battery as the power source for the automobile. J.B. Strawbell, Tesla's chief technology officer, was the main designer of the electric powertrain.
For the first time, it was possible to drive over 200 miles and have performance that was directly competitive with what a gasoline car could do. And Tesla was the first company to take those principles and put that into practice and try it.
California Governor Schwarzenegger showed up for the Roadster's 2006 coming out party.
I test drove this one. It's hot.
He bought one. So did Leonardo DiCaprio and George Clooney. But could Musk sell regular customers on his idea?
At that time, there was very little activity in the auto industry in electric vehicles. We were in the age of the large SUV. So it was a little unusual to hear about this company in California that was planning to come to market with a high-end auto-electric sports car.
We were very passionate about trying to make sure that this car was going to just throw down the gauntlet on what the technology could do, and really prove to the world that electric vehicles, could be incredibly fast and could have incredibly long range. There was kind of a sense of adventure, doing these things for the first time and doing it in a really scrappy way. We did some of the very first battery packs in my garage in Menlo Park before we actually were able to rent a real office.
The big issue for Tesla, as with all electric cars, has been the batteries, their cost, and how long they last. Eric Noble is president of Carlyle, an automotive consulting firm that evaluates new cars and trucks.
American consumers are very ready for battery electric vehicles. Unfortunately, battery electric vehicles aren't ready for American consumers.
The first results of Tesla seem to support this gloomy forecast.
Tesla, when we first started out, the thought was simple and really obviously in retrospect quite naive, which was to make use of some technology that we develop ourselves, but also some technology that we license from AC propulsion, put that together and create an electric sports car that would be compelling. So, let's see, where did that fall apart?
It fell apart when the team told Musk that the projected cost had skyrocketed from $65,000 to $140,000. As the problems mounted, Musk faced a do-or-die decision at Tesla. He would have to choose between investing his PayPal payoff or let his new company collapse.
And Elon was looking at this and saying, the dream is still there, but oh my gosh, what have I got? I've got to get this under control.
Unit ready.
Yes, sir. Securing position. Ready. Double time.
Unit ready.
By 2007, Tesla was running out of money, fast. No one wanted to step up to save the unproven automobile startup. Elon Musk had to take the leap alone.
We had to make some pretty dramatic changes, essentially recapitalize the business and invest about twice what we'd originally expected. What we originally expected as the outer limit.
Basically, Tesla got to this point where they only had enough money in the bank for a couple of months, and there's nobody around who are willing to put more money.
I took all of my reserve capital and invested into Tesla, which was very scary because, it would obviously be quite sad to have the fruits of my labor with Zip2 and PayPal not amount to anything. But there was no question that I would do that in my own mind because Tesla was too important to let die. I'm available 24/7 to help solve issues. Call me 3 a.m. on a Sunday morning, I don't care.
We had to go in and make some really hard decisions on personnel changes, and Elon really had to dedicate his time to the company.
I want names named. So if someone's always on the high seat, is always the root cause for problems, they will not be part of this organization long term. It's not okay to be unhappy with part of this company. If somebody can't get happy,
Musk and his board replaced Martin Eberhard, one of the co-founders who had been running Tesla.
And I think we kind of really exceeded the level that Eberhard could handle. And that became apparent in 2007.
We either were going to have to shut the company down or, take the CEO.
It was actually a process of building a company as well as building a car. A lot of people that fit in very well with the company when it was extremely small, it didn't end up, fitting in as well when it was larger.
Eberhard didn't go
Unit
quiet.
ready.
He sued Musk for libel, slander, and breach of contract.
Unit
I believe
lost.
that I was scapegoated to blame for the programs that were not
Unit ready.
Musk resolved the dispute through mediation, but his
New
company
construction
was in
options.
serious financial trouble.
Unit ready.